Ahoy! Oh my gosh, how good are those speakers so far? And I'm only number 4. So I don't know what the rest of it's going to be like, but I'm going to struggle to remember them all at the end. Anyway, my name's Nick, and I started GoBoat here in Canberra. And I've titled the presentation Making Waves because we are doing some interesting things, and we don't create too many waves or wake on the lake, which was one of the key things that was a selling point for us when we're getting through the National Capital Authority's approval process, which anyone who's been through that, good luck. So I took a really interesting path to get to be the boat guy. I started working for McDonald's marketing department when I was at uni, and then a few years later I ended up working in politics. And a very, very smart woman, hard-working woman, who just happens to be the Premier of New South Wales once told me a very important lesson, and it was, people don't remember what you do, they don't remember what you say, they remember how you make them feel. And so GoBoat, for me, is all about making, and the vision of the company is to make millions of happy memories. And so far in Canberra, we've made about 12,000 so far. Most of them have been happy, I think, which is good. And it's a business that makes you smile. And I guess where it started was in Stockholm. These guys had a setup there, and I discovered them once when I was on holiday, and I went on the boat and I just loved it. And it was just amazing, that freedom that it gives you being on the water. It's completely silent, or almost silent, very sustainable, and you're your own captain. You're on the water, you're experiencing boating. For someone who's never owned a boat, never driven a boat before, it was just super easy, and the way it made me feel was super happy. So we want to make the water in Canberra accessible to everyone. And so I guess we started making those plans, working with government, working with stakeholders, fighting our way through about 2 years of bureaucracy to get here and get out on the lake. So in making it real, we came across a fair number of challenges. First of all was everyone saying it can't be done. And so being someone who wasn't originally from Canberra, for me it was, well, there's nothing on the bloody lake, so why is that? And so just asking all these questions that I think a lot of Canberrans maybe just accept as normal, or it's always been that way. And so if I can leave you with one lesson right in the middle of the prezzo, it's don't accept that something has to be because it's always been done that way. So we ended up getting the National Capital Authority to change their rules to allow us to operate and to allow people to drive a boat without a licence. So I guess I began anyway juggling a few different balls. So there was the National Capital Authority, there was the ACT government, there was the boat builder, there was the bank, so it's all these things in the air, and you needed one thing before another could happen. You needed a certificate of operation from AMSA before you could get your approval from the National Capital Authority, before you could get your lease from the ACT government, before the bank would loan you any money against your house. So it was all very challenging, but somehow sort of worked it through. Maybe it's that idea of politics being the art of compromise. But anyway, we got on the water, and part of what my focus was with the business, this photo was taken in July, in the middle of winter last year. It was about 6 degrees and blowing about 25 kilometres an hour of wind. And there's some friends of mine on a boat that I borrowed to take photos of, so that we could be seen as credible and authentic and real before we even opened the doors. So it was not photoshopped, it wasn't, so that was the extent which I lost my $2,000 drone at the bottom of Lake Burley Griffin that day as well. So I remember it very well. And since we've been open, I think one of my focuses anyway has been on, actually I think focuses, the plural focuses should be foci, but anyway, is making friends. And Canberra has been so welcoming, and I think being a sustainable business and something that's very new and very interesting and something that people thought could never happen, they've really taken us on board, and we're now part of the fabric. We're now the thing, or one of those things that people say, if you're coming to Canberra, if you're coming to visit me for the weekend, let's go and do GoBoat. So we've had people like, well, this is Richard Luton's whole crew, then we've had the Chief Minister, we've had senators, we've had all kinds of people out on the boats, which is great. One of the things I'd like to say though, in particular, is anyone starting out a new brand or building a brand somewhere that hasn't been before, is you've got to be so vigilant, you've got to be protective, you've got to treat it like a baby, you've got to make it credible, and you've got to make it attractive And so we've had people offer us $10,000 to put, their brands all over our boats as a marketing, stunt and things like that. And we just say no. We're opening in Melbourne in December, which is great. It's only a year after we started. And if anyone wants to talk to me about opening in Noosa or Queenstown, New Zealand, or something like that, feel free to give me a yell.